Okay, welcome back. So today we're gonna continue. We'll even go back a bit of the end of the previous class, and we're studying the story of the banishment from the Garden of Eden, right? So Adam sinned, or Adam and Eve sinned. God sent them forth from the Garden of Eden, and he placed a special safeguard or an obstacle preventing people from getting back into the Garden of Eden. Well, it says, we'll go over the verses at the beginning again. Just review the verses. Vayomer Adonai Elohim, and God said, Hen ha'adam haya ka'ahad mimenu. Right, behold, man has become one or unique, that he from himself, mimenu lada'at tovara, he decides what is right and wrong, or he's able to differentiate for himself good from evil. Ve'ata, and so now that man has a freedom of choice and he's able to choose to do bad, ve'ata pen yishlach yado, right? We're afraid that he's going to send his hand forth, ve'lakach gam me'etz ha'chaim, and so too as he took from the tree of knowledge, he will also take from the tree of life. Ve'achal v'chai le'olam, and he shall eat from the tree and live forever, live eternal life. Right? So we already see here that this safeguard, right? Ve'ata pen yishlach, the whole reason is so that he doesn't send his hand forth, right? This pen nishlach yado, right? This verse usually connotates something destructive, like destroying something, right? So he says, we're afraid that he's also going to send his hand forth and take from the tree of life, as he did to the tree of knowledge, meaning he already brought some sort of destruction to the tree of knowledge, and we're going to protect now the tree of life. Right? And God sent them forth from the Garden of Eden, right? To work the earth which he was taken from. And he sent him, he banished him from the garden. Vayashken mikedem legan Eden et hakiruvim, right? And before the entrance to Gan Eden, right, or on the way to Gan Eden, he put the keruvim, the cherubs, and he put ve'et lahat hacherev hamitapechet, right? The shifting, blazing sword. Nishmor derech etz ha'chaim, to protect or to guard the way of the tree of life.
Sami, excuse me, can you make the text more bigger?
Yeah. How's this?
Thank you.
Maybe I could even do a little bit more. There we go. Right, all right, so first of all, we see he never forbade man from eating from the tree of life, as he did with the tree of knowledge. And the whole point of putting this guard is to prevent man from reaching the tree of life. This is because we already saw what he's capable of, and he already brought some sort of destruction to the tree of knowledge. And now God is worried that man will do that as well to the tree of life. All right, so what does that mean? To eat. We saw that the word eat, achal, could mean two things. One, the destruction of something, which is right? We saw with the burning bush, right? The bush isn't being consumed. And so we said that's what man did with the tree of knowledge. He says, achal, from the tree of knowledge, it means he destroyed it. And what is this knowledge? We said, well, knowledge always, the word dat always talks about man's character, meaning man was in a higher level, intellectual level. Before he sinned, he was in the state of prophecy, which is the highest level man can reach, right? And he was a perfect character. And then he did something that kind of corrupted his character. And now he is no longer worthy of the Garden of Eden. And God places two obstacles preventing him from destroying the tree of life as well. And those two obstacles we saw, one is the Keruvim, and the other is Lahat HaHerem HaMitapechet. And we spent a lot of time trying to understand what is the meaning of Lahat HaHerem HaMitapechet. Does anyone remember? The shifting, blazing sword. Does anybody remember what that was? Well, this is all like a deep allegory. And we said Lahat HaHerem HaMitapechet is an allegory for the angels, God's angels. It's called Lahat. Why Lahat? Why blazing? It says, Oseh Malachav Ruchot, God makes his malachim, or his messengers, right? Ruchot, winds. Misharetav, his servants, Misharetav, Esh Lohet, a blazing fire. And so it says, Lahat HaHerem HaMitapechet is talking about this level of the angels, of angelic beings. HaMitapechet, why is it called Mitapechet? Well, because they have no actual physical form. Mitapechet means shifting, because whenever a prophet receives his prophecy, he's interacting with this malach. The malach reveals himself in a different way. Or you can say the prophet processes the nevuah of this malach differently. Right? And then we went to understand all the different mafyanim, the criteria of the different prophets, right? All the prophets, they have these certain things in common. One, they can only receive their prophecy when they are asleep, right? Two, they can only receive their prophecy in a vision. They all receive it in a vision. Three is they tremble, and it's always in the form of an allegory. And they can't receive their prophecy whenever they want. They need to focus their mind. They need to set themselves aside and meditate and go into a deep state. And they also need to be in a joyful state, right? And what is the common thing between all of these different characteristics of prophecy for all the prophets? Well, we said that was man's imagination slash his emotional state, right? And we said that imaginative faculty of his mind is where man receives his prophecy from. And because of the limitations of man's imaginative faculty, he has all these limitations to his prophecy. One, right, is that he has to be joyful. That is man's optimal state. Optimal emotional state is to be joyful, to be in simcha. And man isn't always naturally in that state. Sometimes he's tired, sometimes he's lazy, sometimes he's depressed. And so he needs to prepare himself for that state. Either go sit in front of an inspiring view, have someone play nice music to put him into that state, right? And these are things that all the prophets practice, right? And then they'd go into a deep state, and they'd go, they'd either go kind of like into a coma or a deep sleep, and then their imagination, when it's working at its fullest, is able to put together some sort of vision, which is the prophecy that they are receiving. So all these characteristics of man's prophecy or of prophecy in general to all men other than Moshe, are due to the limitations of man's imaginative faculty. Right? And we said this is the lahat ha'cherev ha'mitapechet, meaning this is one of the obstacles preventing man from reaching the tree of life. And the next obstacle above it is the keruvim. Right? And then we saw there's this beautiful midrash of the Hachamim. Right? Let's find it. Says that when a man here, and the Hachamim said, Hachamim zal amru b'mfurash limishu hakam. They said this to, to those who are wise, those who can understand. Shekol koach min hakochot hagufanim hu malach. Right? That every one of the physical forces, both of man and of the universe altogether, those forces of nature, are malachim. All the more so, right? All the more so, the forces of nature that are throughout the universe, whether it be gravity or wind or heat, these are all what the Chachamim refer to as malachim. It says, and every single force has one specific task that it does. It executes one thing. All right? And then you see the Chachamim, Kahat HaMoseh, the Chachamim אומרים, תמיד מלאך, right? שהוא ממונה על כך וכך. The Chachamim say there's a malach who is appointed over this thing. This thing could be medicine. There's a malach, we call him Refael. He is the malach of health and medicine. And we said when the three malachim came to Avraham Avinu, right? He had a vision. He saw three malachim. Says Vairav, right? Vairav, Vairav Hashem and Avraham, right? And God revealed Himself to Avraham. V'yoshev petach ha'ohen kechom hayom, and he is sitting at the entrance of his tent at the heat of day, right? Vayisayna vayad, and he sent his eyes and he saw, and behold, this is the vision that Avraham saw. Right? Behold, there are three men, three anashim, who are standing before him. Right? Anashim, again, is hinting to the malachim. Ish, the ishim, the lowest level of the malachim that communicate with man. All right? And then when we see the malachim, when they leave Avraham and they go on to Sodom, there's only two. What happened to the third malach? And the Hachamim say that third malach was the Refael. Refael, he came to heal Avraham. That's it. He did his job. Now Avraham feels better. He doesn't continue on to Sodom. Every malach has one function. They have one job and they do that. מכיוון שכל כוח שמינה אותו האל על דבר מה הוא מלאך, right? Ushon Midrash Kohenet, right? And this is what it says in Midrash Kohenet, another Midrash of the Chachamim. It says, B'sha'a she'adam yashen, right? When man goes to sleep, nafsho omeret lemalach u'malach lekeruv. It says, man's nefesh speaks to the malach, and the malach speaks to the kerub, the cherub. So what's the malach that man's nefesh is speaking to? Well, it's the lowest level of malachim. You want to speak to the ishim. / as brought in Bereshit, lahat hacherev hamitapechet. Right? The blazing, shifting sword. That is the malach that man's nefesh speaks to when it receives prophecy. And that malach receives its message from the kerub. Right? Harei she'em amru mefurashot. He says the Chachamim explicitly said to those who understand what they're hinting to, שהכוח המדמה אף הוא קרוי מלאך. That the imaginative faculty of man is the malach, because the nefesh is speaking to where man receives his prophecy from, which is his imagination, right? And that is the malach. And the imagination gets its message from the intellect. And the intellect is the kirub. So how beautiful is this to those who understand? Someone has a question? Okay. And we go back to one of our earlier classes in the semester, right? It says all these, we said there are 10 levels of malachim altogether, between God and our level of existence, right? We said there are 10 different levels of existence in between, right? כל אלו 10 השמות שנקראו בהם המלאכים, all these 10 names that refer to the malachim, על שם 10 מעלות שלהם הם, right? They're based on those 10 different levels of reality, of existence. מעלה שאין למעלה ממנה מעלת האל ברוך הוא, היא מעלת הסורות שנקראת חיות. And the highest level, and that's why it's called the ones that carry the chariot of God, is the hayot, the beasts, the animals pulling the chariot. All right, that's the highest level of malach. לפיכך נאמר בנבואה שהם תחת הכיסא, that's what it says they are below the throne, they're pulling the chariot, the מרכבה. The מעלה העשירית, the lowest level, היא מעלת הסורה שנקראת אישים. This is the lowest level, is that level of malachim that are called the ishim, ish, like a person. והם המלאכים שמדברים עם הנביאים, and these are the malachim that speak to the nevi'im, when the nevi'im receive their prophecy from, right? Avraham Avinu, sitting at the entrance of his tent, saw 3 והנה שלושה אנשים, 3 ishim, coming and standing before him. That was his vision. ונראים להם במראה נבואה. These are the malachim that the prophets speak to and see in their prophetic vision. לפיכך נקראו אישים. That's why they are called אישים. שמעלתם קרובה ממעלת דעת האדם. Because their level is the closest one to that of human intellect. So we said the ishim, the lowest level of malachim, are the malachim that speak to the nevi'im, and that is a function of man's imaginative faculty. And in the story of Garden of Eden, they're referred to as lahat hacherev hamitapechet, right? The shifting, blazing sword. And the level above them is the keruvim. And the keruvim is the pure intellect, which we saw only Moshe Rabbeinu receives his nevuah directly from the keruvim. We actually saw it in the recent parasha, right? It says miben shenei hakeruvim. When Moshe wants to speak to God, he goes into Ohel Moed, right, the tent, or he goes into the Mishkan, and over there is the keruvim, the 2 cherubs, and he receives, it says miben shenei hakeruvim. He receives his prophecy from between the 2 keruvim. Miben shenei hakeruvim, and that is the human intellect, or the highest level of intellect. All right? And then the Rambam goes on to say, this is in the guide, הואיל ודיברנו במהות הנבואה והודענו על מיתתה, right? Since we're speaking about the essence of nevuah, right? וביארנו, and we explained, כי נבואת משה רבנו נבדלת מנבואת זולתו. So the nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu is categorically different than that of all the other nevi'im. It's not just a higher level of nevuah. He receives his nevuah through a different process. he receives it directly from the intellect without it going through that barrier of human imagination with all its limitations. So he doesn't have any of those limitations. Moshe Rabbeinu can receive his nivuah whenever he wants. He doesn't need to focus his mind. He doesn't need to prepare himself. He doesn't need to go to sleep. He doesn't receive it in a vision, in a dream. He receives the message directly. He understands it in his mind. It says, because the nevuah of Moshe, which is categorically different, he says, Lachen ani omer. It says, therefore I say, the Rambam is sharing his own personal opinion, Ki me'otah hasaga bilvad hidhayva hakriya in Torah. It says, because of that categorically different state of nevuah of Moshe, we have this calling to the Torah, which Moshe gave us. Right? Because this call that Moshe had, where he called us to the Torah, says, Lo kadma kemota l'shum nivra, mimei sheyida'anu me'adam ad lo. Says, we have never seen this before. A prophet receiving a message that is meant to obligate a collective. This has never happened before. Velo ba aharav. And it has never happened since, and it never will. Kriya kemota le'af echad min nevi'enu. We never see among any of our prophets the prophets calling us to a new Torah. V'chach yesodhu b'toratenu. And this is a fundamental a concept of our Torah, shelo tiyeh zvunata le'olam, that it will never change. There will never be a different Torah in its place. Ulfichach, and therefore, lefi hashkafatenu, right? This is our understanding. This is our faith. Lo hayta sham Torah ve'lo tiyeh zulat Torah achat. There was never any other Torah, and there never will be any other Torah other than this one Torah, vehi Torat Moshe Rabbeinu. And this is the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu got for us, or called us to. All right, so man was banished from the Garden of Eden. Right? He was, prior to his sin and banishment, he was in a perfect state. He was in a prophetic state. He was communicating with God. He knew all of science and all the truths of the world, right? Naturally, instinctively. And then he did something that corrupted his soul, that corrupted his character. And now he has wrong ideas, wrong behavior, and he is a danger to the Garden of Eden. And God banishes him from there and puts these two obstacles to prevent man, who is now corrupted, from coming back and corrupting the tree of life. Right? The obstacles are to the tree of life. And these obstacles are, well, the first one that you need to pass is the shifting blazing sword, which we said that's the level of prophecy. Man who reaches human perfection, the highest level, right, or the lowest level of human perfection, which is the lowest level of prophecy, right? You could say he overcame that first obstacle. But there's another obstacle after that, and that's the Keruvim, the cherubs. And we saw only Moshe was able to overcome that obstacle. So, what is this tree of life? Any ideas? Does anybody have access to it? HaKadosh Baruch Hu natan lanu Torah zu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah. Es Chaim, tree of life. The tree of life is the Torah. Moshe, who overcame that obstacle of the Keruvim, had access to the Torah. V'chol ha'oseh, kol ha'katuv ba, and anyone who follows the Torah lives according to the Torah. V'yodo'o de'ah gemura nechona, and knows the knowledge of the Torah, the teachings of the Torah, has proper, substantiated knowledge of the Torah. Zoche ba lechaye ha'olam haba. He merits this eternal life, the world to come. Right? It says, Ve'achal v'chaim le'olam. It says, what are we worried? That man, on the one hand, may destroy, consume this Etz Chaim, this tree of life. Why is it even called the tree of life? It's because if you follow the Torah and you understand the knowledge of the Torah, you gain eternal life in the world to come. Right? And in accordance to his actions, his behavior, vegodel chokhmato, and his wisdom and intelligence in the Torah, right? The more he knows, the better he behaves, the more olam haba he has, more of this eternal life. V'ivtihanu b'Torah, and we are promised in the Torah, she'im na'aseh ota b'simcha uv'tuvat nefesh, right? That if we follow the Torah with joy, with happiness, if we do it from our own free will, because we want to follow the Torah, right? And we will always consume its knowledge, the wisdom of the Torah, right? We incorporate this wisdom of the Torah into our lives. שיסיר ממנו כל הדברים המונעים אותנו מלעשותה. So God promised us in the Torah that if we follow the Torah because we love the Torah and we want to follow the Torah, that God is going to take away all those obstacles preventing us from following the Torah, such as kegon holi, right, sickness and disease, umilchama, war, vir'av, hunger, v'chayoseh bahin. Right? Remember, we started learning the beginning of the class on Olam Haba. We said there are many different opinions of what is the ultimate blessing or reward that man gets for keeping the Torah. And we said some say that Mashiach will come. Some say that the ultimate reward is the resurrection of the dead. And some say the ultimate reward is that we will have our own sovereign nation and be leaders of the free world. And that we will have, some say we'll have tremendous blessing, right? Financial blessing and no wars, right? All of those are secondary. It says the Torah is promising us that if we follow the Torah, this isn't our reward. Our reward is the eternal life of Olam Haba. But that God, in order for us to really learn the Torah properly and follow it without anyone harassing us, then God is going to give us tremendous blessing and remove all obstacles preventing us from following the Torah. It says, Hatova sefuna l'tzadikim, right? This great reward, this great benefit that is preserved for the tzaddikim, those who follow the Torah, hi hayeh ha'olam haba, right? That is the world to come. Vehem ha'chayim she'en imahen mavet, right? When we're studying about olam haba, we brought this. It says this is the life that has no death associated with it. Vehatova she'en imah ra'ah, and this is the goodness, the benefit that has no downside to it. It's pure good. הוא שכתוב בתורה, this is what the Torah says, למען יטבלך והארכת ימים. Torah says, follow the mitzvot, right, so that you will have, it'll be good for you. It says, למען יטבלך, it'll be good for you. והארכת ימים, and you'll have long days, meaning you'll live a long life. It says, מפי השמוע למדו. Our tradition is, what does it mean, למען יטבלך? לעולם שכולו טוב. It says, you follow the Torah, you will merit to live in this world, this plane of existence that is all good, pure good. והארכת ימים, right, and you'll have long days, לעולם שכולו ארוך, for a world that is eternally long. You will live in this eternally long, pure good world, which we call העולם הבא. וזהו, this is העולם הבא. שכר הצדיקים ושיזכו לנועם זה. Right, the merit, the reward of the tzaddikim is that they will merit this life. ויהיו בטובה זו, and they will be in this goodness. ופרעון הרשעים, and what is the punishment for the evil? שלא יזכו לחיים אלו, אלא ייכרתו וימותו. Right, they will not live in this state. They will be cut off and they will die and no longer exist anymore. וכל מי שאינו זוכה לחיים אלו, הוא המת שאינו חויה לעולם. And anyone who does not merit this olam haba, this eternal life, is he is the dead who has no life after that. There is no afterlife for him. אלא נכרת ברשעו ועובד כבהמה. Right, but he is cut off in his sin, in his evilness, in his wickedness, and he is erased, just like an animal that gets slaughtered, that gets killed. That's it. There has no life after that. That's the end of him. So to the wicked. וזהו הכרת הכתוב בתורה. And this is the meaning of the punishment referred to as karet, which is mentioned in the Torah. What does it mean, karet? It says, he karet ha-nefesh ahi. It says, he karet. He karet, they say, ba'olam hazeh, in this world. He will be cut off from this world. He karet ba'olam hazeh. He karet la'olam haba. He will be cut off from the next world as well. Okay, so someone coming to the Torah, this tree of life, says, Ve'ata penishlah yado, God worried, man is going to come to the tree of life, and he's going to send forth his hand, says, Ve'lakach gam me'es ha'chayim, ve'achal v'chayin le'olam. Says he's going to eat and live forever. What does that mean then? To eat and to live forever. We already saw that the word achal could mean destroy. And that is God's primary worry at this point, is that man is going to come to the Torah, this Etz Chaim, and corrupt it and destroy it. So what does that mean? Ve'achal v'chayin le'olam. He will eat and live forever. Well, when we were discussing that chapter on the word achal, what does it mean achal? So, well, it has a few different meanings. It says, al pi ha-mashmaut ha-sheniyah. According to the second meaning of the word achal, so the first one was to destroy, to consume, to destroy. Ush'al lishon achila lechokhmah. Says, the word achal was also borrowed to mean wisdom. ללימוד ובכלל להשגות השכליות, to any intellectual achievement and to any study and education. אשר באמצעותן מתמיד קיום הסורה האנושית במצבה השלם ביותר. Right? Because same way that food sustains our bodies, wisdom sustains our souls. And this is what brings us to the highest level of man. So therefore, all acquisition of knowledge, of wisdom, of understanding of God and the Torah is also referred to as achal. כמו שהגוף מתמיד באמצעות המזון במצבו הטוב ביותר. Right? Same way that the body is sustained by the food that it eats, so too knowledge and the wisdom that man eats, consumes, sustains his nefesh. Right? As it says, Lechu shivru och ve'ichlu. Says, go forth and eat. This is talking about studying Torah. Shim'u shemoa elai. He says, listen to my instruction. Ve'ichlu tov, and eat well. What does that mean, eat well? It means understand and consume this knowledge that I'm giving you. Echol devash harbot lo tov says eating too much honey isn't good. Right? You can understand that on the simplistic level, but this is brought in Mishle. Mishle is an allegory for acquiring wisdom. It says, studying, deep thoughts, too much, says it's not good for you. It'll drive you crazy. Just study a bit and take a break. Study more. It says, Echol beni devash kitov. Said, eat honey, the sweet stuff, the good, the sodot, right? The subtleties of the Torah. It says, eat my son, some of this devash, kitov venofet matok al chikecha. Says, because it's beautiful and it's tasty, right? In your on your tongue. Ken de'eh chochman in nafshecha. So to understand wisdom for your nefesh. All right, so you can either eat and destroy, or you can eat and grow with the Torah. So who has access? I mean, we all have access to the Torah. We're all studying Torah right now. I'm not at the level of the Nevi'im, definitely not of Moshe. So how do I have access to Torah? How do any of you have access to the Torah? If only Moshe was able to pass these obstacles. Says, well, this is what happened in Matan Torah. Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah. Listen to this midrash that the Chachamim brings. It says, Amar bi Yehuda bar Simon. Right, so Rabbi Yehuda bar Simon, he says, Ma ketiv beh ve'ata milevavot kodesh, where it says in the Torah, ve'ata milevavot kodesh, you came from the tremendous, with tremendous malachim, with many malachim. It says, Otu betoch milevavot kodesh, b'shah sheba Sinai, right? It says, Ela av k'sheba liten Torah l'Yisrael, right? When God came to bring the Torah to the Jewish people, Balashon hazeh nitena, upatach b'Sinai, anochi Adonai Elohecha. He says in Sinai, I am God, Adonai Bam, all right here. Al ken patach balashon hazeh. And this is the midrash that they're bringing. It says, Anita namarom. This is a pasuk in Tehillim. Right? David HaMelech says in Tehillim, he says, Anita namarom, you went up to the heavens, Shavita Shevi. Says you took hostages, lakachta matanot ba'adam, and you brought gifts, or you brought spoils of war back for man. Amar Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi, right? Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi says, B'sha'a she'ala Moshe namarom, amdu hamalachim lehorgo. When Moshe went up to the heavens in Sinai to receive the Torah, the Malachim wanted to kill him. They were all ready to fight him. אמר לי, בשביל שני דברים שנתנו לי מן השמיים, אתם רוצים להורגני? והניחוהו. Then Moshe entered a debate with them. Some Midrashim, they elaborate even more on this debate. He says, well, it says this, and it gives a mitzvah, like, kabed et avicha v'et imecha, that you must honor your parents, and malachim don't have parents, so therefore it's for man, right? And they had this whole exchange. Other Midrashim, actually, like it says over here, Amdu malachim nehorgo, they wanted to kill him, they were ready to face him in battle. What kind of a battle? Well, what was the obstacle? The Torah describes it as a sword, a flaming sword. The Midrashim also describe it as a sword. And some of the Midrashim describe it as an intellectual debate that Moshe had with the Malachim. But what happened? Moshe went up. What does that mean, he went up? He went to Etz HaChaim. He went to the tree of life. And in order to reach the tree of life, he had to overcome Lahat HaCherem HaMitapechet, the flaming sword, and the Kiruvim. He had to debate them. It says, Anita Lamaron, you went up, Shavita Shevi, you took hostages. Lakachta Matanot Ba'adam, and you retrieved spoils for man. And the Hachamim explain, Shavita Shevi, the hostage that you took, was the Torah itself. And it says furthermore, Lakachta Matanot Ba'adam, you also brought down spoils for man. And what was that? It says, Be'ota sha'a amar David, in that moment, David says, remember he also said this. This whole verse is from Tehillim. And he's saying, Amar David, David says, Shalosh matanot tovot natan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael. Right, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us 3 good gifts. Matanot, the same word used here, right, as the spoils of war. Lakachta matanot, these spoils, these gifts that God gave us, Rahmanim, Baishanim, Vegomle Hasadim. Says they are merciful. This is one of the gifts. Another one is Baishanim, that they have some sort of humility. Vegomle Hasadim is that they they do good deeds with each other. They give charity to each other. So what are these 3 matanot? Well, look, it says matanot ba'adam, within man. That would be the proper translation. 3 gifts within man. What are these gifts within man? These are man's characteristics, right? Rahmanin, merciful. Baishanin, humility. Gomle hasadin, that they do charity with each other. Why is this so important? Well, what happened when man sinned? When he corrupted the tree of knowledge. So, well, he corrupted his character. Man from then on is corrupt. What happened in Matan Torah is Moshe went up, the entire nation prophesies, right? They had this vision of God. They heard the 10 commandments directly from God. They all reached this level of Lahat HaCherem HaMitapechet. And they received these 3 characteristics ingrained in their soul now. It says it's not a problem to now go to the tree of life. The whole reason that God prevented man from the tree of life is because he was corrupt. But now he gave like these base characteristics that come to repair that corruption, at least on a very basic level, which gives us access to the Torah. It says, Rachmanim minayin v'natan lecha rachamim. Right? How do you know that they receive rachamim? It says, v'natan lecha rachamim. And God gives you mercy. Not that He's merciful on us, but He gave us mercy. Baishanim minayin. How do we know that the Baishanim? It says, ba'avur tiyeh yira'atu al penechem. He says that the whole point of this Ma'amar Har Sinai, this terrible, awesome experience or deal that we went through at the foot of Mount Sinai, where everyone supposedly they died and came back to life, and they died again and came back to life again. It was this real traumatic experience. What was the point of all that? It says, Ba'avur tiyeh yir'atu al penechem, so that the fear of God will be upon you forever. This is a sign of someone with humility who doesn't sin. And anyone who doesn't have this kind of humility, it's a safe bet that they never experienced Har Sinai. It says, how do we know that they also do charity? It says, or that charity, this doing good deeds with each other, is a gift we received from God. It says, V'shamar Adonai Elohecha lecha, right? And God will preserve for you et haberit ve'et hachesed. Preserve it for you, meaning He's preserving it as a gift for us, right? Ve'inu en bein echad mehen, and anyone who doesn't have any of these three traits, miyad amad v'richakan, David set them aside, and he said, V'hagivonim lo mibnei Yisrael chela. Right, and the Givonim who came and tricked us, they are not descendants of the children of Israel. So, who is still prevented from the tree of life? You see, the whole point of the safeguard of the tree of life, right, is that we don't destroy it. And if the tree of life is the Torah, right? And the whole reason that someone would destroy it is because he is corrupt. Then it says, "En melamedin divrei Torah ela letalmid hagun na'eh b'ma'asav." Says you can only teach Torah to a student who is decent and has proper behavior, or letam, or a simple person who has no bad behaviors. אבל אם היה הולך בדרך לא טובה, מחזירים אותו למוטב ומנהיגים אותו בדרך ישרה ובודקים אותו. Says, however, if this is a person, he has these bad qualities, he behaves bad, he has a corrupt nefesh, says, first, make sure he does teshuvah. Teach him how to behave. ומנהיגים אותו בדרך ישרה, make him go the straight path, and check him, ובודקים אותו. ואחר כך מכניסים אותו לבית המדרש ומלמדים אותו. And only afterwards can you accept him into the academy, into the Beit Midrash, in order to teach him the wisdom of the Torah. אמרו חכמים, חכמים said, כל השונה לתלמיד שאינו הגון, כאילו זורק אבן למרקוליס. Says anybody who teaches Torah to a corrupted student, it's as if he is throwing a stone to the Marcolis. Marcolis was a statue, was a type of pagan worship, a pagan ritual. Says anybody who teaches Torah to a corrupt student, it's as if he is doing a pagan practice. Shneimar, what's he doing? Right? He is corrupting the Torah. Shneimar, kitzror even b'margema, ken noten niksin kavod. It says, he who gives, called adami, ignoramus, or someone bad behavior, anyone who gives them honor, it's similar as throwing a stone, right, to the statue. What does that mean? Give him honor. Then kavod ela Torah. Honor is Torah. Torah is honor. Shneimar kavod hachamim yichadu. Right, the hachamim, their legacy is kavod. Kavod is glory. This honor. This is the Torah. So teaching Torah to a dishonest student, to a corrupted student, is the equivalent of doing avodah zarah. And so too, it says the Amar Rabbi Yohanan, B'sha'a sheba nahash al Hava itin bazuhamah. When the nahash, the serpent, came onto Hava in the Garden of Eden, it says he put his venom into her. Yisrael שעמדו על הר סיני פסקה זוהמתן. Right? The Jewish people who stood at the foot of Mount Sinai, they received the antidote to this venom. They no longer have this venom. But the pagans, שלא עמדו בהר סיני, those who didn't partake in Har Sinai, לא פסקה זוהמתן, they still have this venom in this paganism and this avodah zarah. And we see here also, it says it's a surah to teach Torah to a corrupted student, to a dishonest person. And we see what is this Haim and Mavet that you achieve with the tree of life. We say, well, Goy sha'asag b'Torah, Hayamita, you're not allowed to teach Torah to the Gentiles, to the Goyim, to the pagans. Right? We know this doesn't mean all pagans. Those who accept that the Torah is true, you are allowed to teach to them. It says Hayamita he's deserving of death. Why? We'll see. What is this death? It says Lo ya'asok ela b'shem ha'misvot shelahen bilvad. They should only learn their 7 misvot, their 7 laws. It says וכן גוי ששבת אפילו ביום ימות החול אם מסר אותו לעצמו כשבת חייב מיתה. Also they're not allowed to keep Shabbat. ואין צריך לומר אם מסר מועד לעצמו. And if he created his own holiday, right, he's creating his own Torah, so too. לא שום דבר אין מניחין אותן לחדש דת, right? You're not allowed to allow the nations to make up new religions. They have to keep the Sheva Mitzvot, and that's it. ולעשות מצוות לעצמן מדעתן, and create their own mitzvot from their own intellect and knowledge. אלא או יהיה גר צדק ויקבל כל המצוות, or he will convert and accept all the mitzvot upon himself, right? Like you all do. או יעמוד בתורתו ולא יוסיף ולא יגרע, or he will keep his mitzvot or the mitzvot for all of humanity, the 7 mitzvot, don't add on them and don't subtract from them. Same way that we don't add or subtract from the 613, the rest of the nation should not add or subtract from their 7 mitzvot. V'im asak b'Torah or Shabbat or chidesh davar, right? And he comes with these new ideas, new mitzvot that he wants to do, because he's studying the Torah and he wants to add more, makin oto v'omshin oto, right? And he gets punished, or modi'in oto, and he needs to be informed shu hayav mitah zeh, that he should be have capital punishment for this. Aval eino neherag. However, the Beit Din does not kill him. Well, if he's Hayav Mita, anybody who's Hayav Mita, so Mechalel Shabbat, right? A Jew, times of the Beit Din is a Sanhedrin, he makes an Avirah, he transgresses the law, right? He desecrates the Shabbat, he is Hayav Mita, the Beit Din executes him. You know, if there was a Din, right? If there were witnesses and everything, and he did it on purpose, is Hayav Mita. All right, so here it says Aval eno neherag, but he doesn't get killed. It says Hayav Mita, Aval eno neherag. Why? What does that mean? How could you be Hayav Mita but not be killed for it. Because the mitah that is hayav is not a physical mitah. It doesn't mean that he needs to be assassinated or executed or killed. It means someone who is not prepared for the Torah and approaches the Torah while he is still pagan and corrupts the Torah, says he gets this ultimate death where he's cut off from the world. Any other goy who follows the 7 mitzvot, he gets Chaye Olam Haba. He does live on in the world to come. He does get an eternal life. However, a corrupted goy, a pagan, who comes to study Torah and corrupt the Torah itself, he gets cut off completely from Olam Haba. It says, Hai Ushem Lema Shegadel V'Hash. Hai, the word Hai, the word life, right? Its most basic meaning is something that grows and it feels and it walks. Kol Eremes Asher Hu Hai, right? Any living being. Ugam Shem LaHalama Mimachala Kasha Me'od. Another meaning of the word Hai is to recover from a disease, from a sickness. Vayehi Micholyo, right? And he was very sick, and he was revived from his sickness. Revived from his sickness meaning he healed. But Mahanel Hayotam, right? They were all sick. The entire camp was sick because they all did how do you call it? They did the Berit Milah in the times of Yehoshua, and they stayed in the camp until they all recovered. V'chen basar hai, living flesh. Ken tadir shimusho shel shem zeh b'mashmaut kniyat hachokmah. So too, the word chai is used very, very often in the acquisition of wisdom. V'yu hayim lenafshecha. There should be life to your nefesh. Ki mosei masahayim. Those who found me found life. Those who found God and study and understand and behave accordingly. Ki hayim hem lemosaihem. Right? It is life to those who find Him. V'zeh tandir. Ulfi zeh, and because of this, nikriu haddeot hanechonot hayim. Right? The right, correct beliefs and understandings are called life, hayim. V'haddeot hapesulot mavet. And the wrong and misguided understandings, for instance, pagan understandings, are called death. God said, behold, I gave before you, put before you life and good, right, and death and evil. He says explicitly, the tov, the goodness, is the life. V'hara wa mavet, right, and the evil is the death. And he explained them. What's what? Right, and so too I explain what he says, for the sake that you live isn't just so that you live, right, that the Torah allows you, teaches you how to live properly, but also it teaches you how to think, right? If you behave in accordance with the Torah, it prepares you for acquiring the wisdom of the Torah. As it says in the tradition, right, for the sake of your life, for the sake that you shall benefit, and have long days. This is the Yitav, it's saying already here. Yitav means to have an eternal life, to have a right, proper eternal life. And because of how commonly this use of the word life is used to mean wisdom, right, and understanding, Balashon Amru, so the Chachamim said, because it's very common in our language, this use of the word Hayim, the Chachamim say, Saddiqim Afilu b'mitatam kiruim hayim. Right, that the righteous, the tzaddikim, even after they pass away, they are referred to as alive. V'reshaim, and the wicked, afilu b'chayehem kiruim mitim. And the wicked, even while they're still alive physically, they are referred to as dead, because they are already cut off from the world to come. Right? Dazut Efun, he says, understand this. Right? So, man corrupted himself when he ate from the tree of knowledge. Right? As a da'at, he corrupted his da'at, he corrupted his soul, his character, and then he fell into the category of not worthy of the Torah, and he was banished from Gan Eden. Gan Eden, according to this understanding, would be the eternal life, the Olam Haba. And God wanted to prevent this corrupted man from accessing the Torah and corrupting it as well and destroying it. And so he placed two obstacles to get to the tree of life: the Keruvim, the Caribs, and the blazing, transforming sword. And we said that these obstacles can only be overcome by a prophet. That's the lowest level, that's the lower level, the lower obstacle of Lahat HaCherem HaMitapechet. And the next obstacle was only ever overcome by Moshe. And Moshe had access to the Torah. He reached the Torah. It says, Lo b'shamayim, he brought it down to us. However, in order for us to now be worthy of the Torah, God had to correct our corrupted nature. And these are the three gifts that God gave us. The three gifts, where it says Shalosh Matanot Ba'adam, the three gifts within man. It says Rahmanim, right, that they have mercy, they're merciful people, right? They are Baishanim, they're not arrogant, they have some sort of humility, and Gomre Hasadim, and they're always looking to help and do good and give charity to others, right? These are now the base characteristics, which if you have them, you are now worthy of accessing this tree of life. This tree, this Torah, which if studied properly by someone who is not corrupt, by someone who is decent, and this is now the baseline of what decent is and worthy of studying Torah, you can acquire this eternal life, this world to come. The Hayeh Olam Haba, the life of the world to come. And Shlomo, he finishes his book Mishlech. Well, sorry, this is in his book Mishlech. He says, Ashrei Adam Masah Chochmah. He says, praiseworthy is he, the man who has found wisdom. Ve'adam Yafik Tevuna, someone who is able to make hidushim and understand things in the Torah. Kitov Sachrah Misachar Kasef. He says, the acquisition of this knowledge, this wisdom of the Torah, is greater than anything you can buy with money. Right? It is more valuable than pearls. It says, and all your possessions cannot be compared to it. The wisdom of the Torah. Right? In the right hand, you have long days again. We're going back. What does that mean? Orech Yamin. Orech Yamin is in eternal life. Bismola, and in the left hand, Osher v'chavod, wealth and honor. So the Torah itself is called honor. It says these are just how do you call it? The side effects of learning the Torah. When you study Torah, you get the wisdom and you do it wholeheartedly. then HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to remove all obstacles preventing you from living the Torah to its fullest. So on the left hand, you have wealth and honor. These are things that enable you to acquire more Torah, so that on the right hand, you have orech yamin. You have a prolonged life, an eternal life. Deracheh derech noam. Right, the ways, the pathways of the Torah are derech noam. They come, with proper manners. V'chol netivotei shalom. All the pathways of the Torah lead to peace and to prosperity. Es hayim hina mahazikim ba. It is the tree of life to all those who hold it. V'tomcheha me'ushar. And those who observe it, who hold the Torah, are eternally blissful in this state of the Garden of Eden. Right? So even this living in the state of Garden of Eden is something that, it's not a place where we need to try to get to. It's a state of mind of living a Torah-guided life. And that's at least how I understand these three pesukim of the tree of life and the safeguard that God put before the tree of life to prevent those who aren't worthy of it. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
So regarding the character traits or something,
Regarding the
character traits or something that
right, yes.
when character is not, what's the extent of it? Like people are not perfect. Although they are teachers, we may find some course if we try to find, and they can make mistakes. But what are the extent where we can judge person is not something we can learn from, or this person is not someone needs to be
Right,
taught?
okay.
Mhm.
So I think the three basic things are those three gifts. If a person has no empathy, right? He has no rahmanut, no mercy on other people, or he's cruel, then he's missing that characteristic, and he's not ra'ui, he's not worthy of learning Torah. Right? If he is, then maybe he is. Right? If he does have rahmanut, right, and he does have some sort of humility, then you can teach him Torah. But remember, at least from our point of view, I'm going to go back to one of our early classes. It says, it's like the same way that you shouldn't be teaching a dishonest student Torah, the student should not be studying Torah from a dishonest teacher. Right? He said it's a sur to learn Torah from someone who is corrupt. We learned this in one of the earlier classes on a teacher that is he has proper midot. Says the teacher needs to resemble a malach. What does it mean, resemble a malach? That he behaves properly, right? Then the teacher will already know how to identify the student. Says, well, if it's a corrupt student, he says, first I'm going to educate him on how to behave, and then I'll teach him Torah. Right? He said there's this famous saying called derech eretz kadmana Torah. It says before Torah you need to have basic derech eretz, proper etiquette, proper behavior. You don't teach someone Torah if they don't know how to behave.
Okay. So all those midot, should they apply only to fellow Jewish people, or even to fellow non-Jewish people, or even to animals? Are there different midot which should be applied the same way to non-Jewish people?
Well, I wouldn't teach Torah to anybody who doesn't have at least some mercy for others. So I would say, yeah, it applies to everybody. This is just the difference is that what happened at Mount Sinai is that anybody who experienced that automatically got those midot. Doesn't mean that nobody else has it. But the experience itself was so so tremendous that it ingrained this characteristic of humility and rahmanut and no, and mercifulness in the people who were there.
Yeah.
Anything else? All right, if there are no more questions for today, then we'll end here. And next week we'll be starting a completely new topic. I haven't decided yet what. But anyways, it'll be a completely new topic.
Thank you so much.